trauma isn't what's happening to us. It's what's happening inside of us in the absence of a really safe and empathetic witness. And so, again, that example of if I displayed emotion as a child and my father chastised me for crying, for having an emotional response, then my relationship with the vulnerable part of me, vulnerability, I start to suppress that vulnerable part of me. So what'll happen is it doesn't go away when I start to go through life and I see somebody in front of me getting vulnerable. What do you think that happens to me? It activates the frequency of that younger part of me that was vulnerable. And it, in other words, it triggers. So a trigger is an experience on the outside that causes us to get knocked backwards in time into a wound. And what happens is we're not in the present moment anymore. We have now regressed and become that child. That past is now, we're living it in the now. So a trigger is kind of like an age regression. Anytime there's reactivity, there's a wound that's been triggered or activated, and we then go back and become the 16-year-old, the 15-year-old, the 14-year-old that's right there. And if you want to see what that's like, just think back on what it's like to grow up in a household where you have emotionally immature parents, where there's a conflict happening within the household and your parent is actually yelling, screaming, or reacting. They're triggered and now they've become the child. They're parenting you, but they're coming from the aspect of a possession of a younger part of them. They've become this angry, disillusioned teenager or this weak and needy child. So when we're triggered, we're no longer living in the present anymore. We are now back to being 3 years old and we've regressed and become the child. And so that's what a trigger is. It's something that happens in the outside that activates something similar to what happened before and causes us to go back and become that child. And so when we're talking about parenting our children, when we're talking about having a safe and secure relationship, it is incumbent upon us to do the work to bring our adult self online so that we're not operating from child self. Even running a company, you could be running it from your child self or your angry teenager self. So the inner work of becoming trigger proof is really about not at never getting triggered, but getting curious about how to use that energy to heal rather than react and then destroy your life.